first name up there. And then let me know who you're representing here today, whether you're the applicant, the owner, a neighboring property owner, or someone else involved with the project or affected by the project. We'll go ahead and start with Wes Menzel, who's from the City Planning Department. Welcome, Wes.
Good morning.
I have someone under Jeff. Is that Jeff Orshell?
This is Jeff Orshell. I'm a neighboring property owner.
Okay, great. Welcome. I see we have Alex Barnett.
Applicant.
Okay, great. Welcome. I see we have someone under Sanford Pauley.
Yeah, I'm a neighbor. 7 Forest Hill Drive, right above the proposed or the site.
Okay, great. Welcome. And looks like Nick H. You could unmute for me.
Yeah, I'm with the install team, Atlas Side Industries.
Okay, and your last name?
Houlis, Houllis.
Okay, great. Welcome. And I think that's all we have here. There's someone else under Alex that's not connected to audio. Alex, is that Barnett? Is that you?
Yeah, that's because my computer doesn't have the microphone, so I use my phone for the camera and audio.
Got it. Okay, great. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I need to read through our hearing script. This is just going to cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll begin. So this is the January 14th, 2026 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the city, and I'll be presiding over the hearing today. The purpose of the hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20250134. That's 3895 Red Bank Road. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. For our purposes here today, I'll allow Mr. Barnett and Mr. Houlis an opportunity to tell us about the project, what exactly it is they're proposing, and then, of course, why they think the relief is appropriate and should be approved. After they've had that opportunity, I'll then turn it over to the public. Anyone from the public will have an opportunity to testify after the applicant has presented his case. I'll hear from Wes Menzel and the planning department to provide any testimony in addition to the staff report that they submitted on this application. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony offered in opposition and testify or rebut the argument that they've heard in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. Okay. The last thing I need to do here is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony, asking any questions, making any comments, really doing anything other than just strictly observing here today, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in prior to that testimony. So I'm going to do that collectively with all the individuals that intend on testifying right now. So if you could just take yourself off of mute, I'll need you to raise your right hand and I'll need you to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Great. Thanks, everyone. All right, Mr. Barnett, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to first start off with thanking you all for your time today and your attention to this matter. We're here today requesting this variance for 2 wall signs. I believe I may have requested for 3. I might have been a little overzealous in my request. We need to request variance for size and location. The 2 proposed signs, S1 and S2, are proposed to be on the north and south elevations. They do not have street frontage, so that is why we need the location variance. And then since they don't have street frontage, they're not afforded any area at all. So we would need a variance of a total of 90 square feet, 45 on each side. We think that these signs are important for the branding of this building, especially considering how people enter a Valvoline. You don't really look at the front of the building, you look at the sides, and it's designed to capture that attention from people going up and down Red Bank. so that they can see it before they get to the building. Especially coming northbound where visibility to the ground sign might not be as quick to see as coming from southbound. These signs are not going to impact neighboring properties. The light from these signs is not going to go beyond the property or be brighter than any, let's say, street sign or street light or any other building sign in the area.
Okay. Can you tell us more about the signs themselves? What are the dimensions and
Yes,
the
absolutely.
illumination?
So they are going to be internally illuminated. They are both about 6 feet tall, 5 feet, 11 inches tall by 7 feet, 7.5 feet wide. It's a cabinet with letters and the logo, Valvoline V logo on the top of it. It's standard branding for a Valvoline site. And you can see on the drawings that there are other incidental signs. Obviously, those are not part of the variance, but those are just to tell people how to get in and get out of the facility.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell me about the project?
That is all I have.
Okay. So just to be clear here, you're looking for variances from the location requirements of signs and the size requirements of signs for each of these signs, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And the reason and the location requirements in the zoning code essentially restrict signage that is not facing a street or has street frontage, correct?
Yes, or a public right of way.
Got it. Okay. And so, let's see. You said they are going to be illuminated, but they won't, the illumination won't leave the property? Is that a fair
So
way to put
it's not going to be any brighter than the ambient lighting of the area. It's not going to flood over into surrounding properties.
Okay. And what is that determination based on?
Well, when you have internal illumination, you've got the face of the sign that is going to obviously make it is not completely transparent, so it's going to diffuse a lot of that light. But beyond that, it's not something that I've ever seen from wall signs like this to go beyond. So just more general experience, and let's say any foot candle, we haven't done any foot candle testing or anything like that.
Okay. And the signs, if I have my directions correct here, maybe it might be helpful to just pull up an image from the staff report here so everyone can see what the proposal is. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so it looks like here's the proposal. We'll zoom in a bit more. So this is Red Bank here, where my cursor is, and you're proposing one sign on the front of the Valvoline station, is that right?
Yes, that does not need variance
It
relief.
does not need relief because it has it's adjacent to street frontage. And then one sign here and one sign here, and those are the signs that you're requesting relief for, correct?
Yes, that is correct. The S05, 6, and 7 are just those little like enter exit signs.
Okay. And they will not be illuminated?
These
5, 6, and 7?
No, sir.
Okay. And S4, you are not requesting relief for that? For
That is
S4,
correct.
is that right? Okay. All right. And, so I think there's some concern that there will be some adverse visual impacts for properties that are sort of located, I believe, uphill over here. Is that right? See if I can-
That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so it looks like neighbors on Forest Hill Drive, believe that they may be impacted by these signs and by the light, again, like visual impacts. Can you talk about why that is not going to be a factor for them?
Yes, absolutely. I would say with the increased elevation in the tree line, assuming that tree line is still there, I cannot foresee, especially with a sign not pointing in that direction. I do not see how physically the light from these signs would reach these homes. Obviously, we appreciate the concern and want to be a respectful neighbor to the community. So we obviously do not want to have cause any stress for these neighbors. Like I said, with the increased elevation in the trees, these signs are not, they're not blinking, they're not flashing. Um, I and Nick can confirm, but would we be opposed to any condition that the signs are turned off at a certain time?
No, we could put them on a timer so that they go off, or we could put them on a photo cell so that they go off when, you know, when the sun goes down, kind of thing, right? Like we could do any number of things. I can assure you that these are not super bright signs, and with the dense foliage and them not directly shining on those houses, those residents would probably never even see the light from those signs. But we could put them on a photo cell or something. Be very simple to do.
So, if there is a condition that there's a timer that they go off after the sun goes down, what would be the point of the illumination at all?
So in the morning, especially, especially this time of year, it's darker in the morning. And, times of the year where it gets darker early. So it doesn't, operating hours may go beyond. And it typically, I believe these guys, they close later than the average business hours. So past 5. And they're open pretty early. So, inevitably, there's going to be times where it is dark and the business is open.
Okay. So, it's the time of year where there's no leaves on the trees. It's another, factor that I'm considering here. I mean, I understand that this is probably going to have a minimal impact in the summer when the trees are full of leaves, but times like this, I haven't been up there, and I probably take a drive up there, but I'd imagine that most of Red Bank and this commercial development down here is probably visible through this tree line when there's no leaves on the trees. So what's your response to that when they are going to be able to directly see this building and these signs?
I would point to the elevation difference. I'm not sure on exactly how much of an elevation change that is, but if we added a photo cell, it would adjust with the ambient light and then or a timer, which would turn it off at a set time. We feel like that would mitigate that entirely because when it is darker out, those signs would go off illumination wise, and then there would be no issue.
Okay.
And those signs don't even face that direction. I mean,
Right.
the exposure would be minimal.
Okay. So share my screen. Just a couple more questions here. So I don't know that I may have to go out of order here and just maybe ask. I can just put in the search. Ask if where on this. So I'm not sure if this is 7 or 6 Forest Hills Drive, but I'd imagine that with this angle, that at least the southern facing sign may be visible from some of these properties.
Yeah, you've got
just again on the angle.
You have your cursor right over my house. If you go
This one?
back up, no, that's the very end. Keep going up.
This one.
That's my house. The one above that is Jeff's,
Okay.
and it's
All right.
that red bank is clearly visible.
Okay. But the signs are going to go here, so
Yeah.
You know, the question is, will you be
Yeah.
able to see that? Okay,
And the other thing too, that when you had your cursor on the southernmost house, he did communicate to us via email that he would very easily be able to see those signs.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, thanks. Let me go back real quick and, because I'm looking at, looks like there's 3 fast food restaurants here. Some lighting that's shielded. There have been, it appears, some allowances in the past for non-street frontage signs here for the Taco Bell. To the applicant.
That actually faces an access road. There's a traffic light that's, actually, you're correct. Apologize.
Okay, okay. So, to the applicant, are you aware whether or not these signs are illuminated? Alex?
I am not aware, but it is definitely something that I could find out.
Okay, it looks like KFC, maybe this has an access road to the side. So.
I mean, those look like
and then-
illuminated channel letters.
Okay, it looks like this also has some, so it looks like allowances, on this, there are some precedent for allowances for non-street frontage signs here, I think. Question
I
is,
think, David,
what the
I would
potential
say that,
impact, and Jeff, you could, I'm sorry, just give me 1 second, we'll have a chance to
Okay.
have a conversation in just a minute. Looks like there has been some allowances, here for other signs, but again, not sure if those are illuminated. Alex, anything else you wanted to say about this project before we hear from neighboring property owners?
Just that, like Nick said, I mean, we're pretty confident that those on Taco Bell are illuminated. And I can't speak to whether they have photo cells or not, but I think that if we were to do that and there's not already an impact from those businesses, I don't think if we were to add the photo cell, it would not have any impact at all. I don't think that, and like you said, there's precedent. So we're just kind of trying to, it is in line with the spirit of this neighborhood in the zoning code, we believe.
Okay. And to be clear, you would be comfortable with a condition on any approval that these signs have a timer that, well, that these signs have technology that adjusts to the ambient light in the area at the time, and a timer that would turn off the illumination anytime that the sun is not out. Is that right?
We
Yeah,
can do either or. Sorry, Alex,
Yeah.
go ahead, man.
Yeah. So the photo cell would be the determination of if it's on and off based off of the sun. A timer would, as the name implies, would be based off of a set time. So I think that a photo cell would be more appropriate, especially in the way we are here in our region, that, we have sun, we've got lots of different,
Yeah.
we've got all
yeah.
seasons and the time change. So I think that a photo cell would be more appropriate than a timer.
And to be clear, a photo cell then measures how much light is out at the moment, and then will turn it off. They'll automatically turn it off if there's a certain amount of light or absence of a certain amount of light. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Unless there's anything else, I'm going to turn it over and let the neighbors provide some testimony here. So I'll start with Jeff, and then go to Sanford. So Jeff, what would you like to add to the discussion?
I think you brought up a very good point about the foliage, because the foliage will probably not be there for 5 months out of the year, right? So that's when we actually see the biggest light noise from Red Bank Road. The other thing on that, on these signs, I mean, it's going to be 4 times the amount of permitted square footage for those signs. And so, 3 times, I mean, so basically 90 feet of that will be facing directions that our houses on Forest Hill Drive will be able to see. And as you know, that's a nuisance and creates property value issues. The other thing, that when I actually walked down Red Bank Road, I tried to observe to see if the other properties were in compliance. I actually thought David, I thought that the code was per road facing or per parking lot. And so I didn't count Taco Bell or Kentucky Fried Chicken as a variance. But if you look at the square footage of all those wall signs, they still look to me, I didn't get out tape measure and measure, but they still look to me like they're abiding by the square footage requirement of 1 square foot per linear foot of the width of the road, or the width of the building. And then the other thing I did, Dave, is I just went to 3 other Valvoline locations within 5 miles, all in the Cincinnati area. I didn't evaluate specific zoning codes for those locations, but I did notice that all 3 of those locations would abide by the zoning code that you've got in place. So there's one over on Highland Avenue, near the Taco Bell or the Home Depot. It does not have signs other than the ones on the monument and also on the ones on the frontage. There's one on in the mall at Rookwood Pavilion. It's got a sign it doesn't have a sign facing Madison, but it has one sign facing the road that actually comes off of Madison into the mall. And I didn't see signs on the other sides of the building. Maybe they're there, but I didn't see it. And then there's one over close to Marburg, where that development was punched in the last couple decades. It actually sits on a crossroad between Gear and Marburg. And there's signs on that, but there aren't signs on the other side. There aren't signs that face the interstate or anything like that. So for me, I was like, why does this building have to be different? It looks like the other 3 Valvoline locations within 5 miles of this location would easily fit within the number and location of the zoning ordinance for this location. And again, I did not evaluate the specific zoning ordinance of those locations. I just observed those buildings.
Got it. Okay. Let me go out of order here just quickly. Wes, could you tell us a little bit more about the relief that's requested here today? Is there any allowance, any square footage allowance for signs that are not facing a street frontage or public right of way?
No, when the proposed sign is not facing the street, that's 0 signage allowed.
Okay.
So we have, in general, allowed people to shift things around if it seems like a reasonable request and, minimal adverse impacts kind of thing. So, and then we also account for, like there's a potential ground sign, like as far as the total square footage, we kind of will account for the fact that a ground sign might be allowed, and you're proposing to put it on the wall instead of using ground, like so we'd allow that as part of our calculation or analysis kind of thing. So
Okay.
In this case, if you don't mind, I'll just keep going for a minute. They would be allowed a ground sign as by right of 72 square feet, which would actually be allowed to be as close as 8 feet to the right of way on Red Bank, compared to the proposed signs that they have being on the western edge of the building, or like shifted as far away from the road as it can be and still be on the wall. So this is kind of a tricky one with the various options they have available and what they're actually trying to do.
Okay. Jeff, when you said it's 4 times the amount of signage, what exactly do you mean?
Well, so I looked at the front, and correct me if I did this wrong, because it's not my profession, right? But I looked at the width of the front of the building, and it's 30.3 linear feet. And if you're allowed 1 square footage of wall sign per foot of that building, then that would be a 30-foot sign that you'd be permitted, which is what their Red Bank road facing sign would be. The other 2 signs are 45 square feet, and so the 45 and 45 makes 90. So you're, in my understanding of the code, that'd be 90 additional square feet that you're requesting that's not permitted per zoning.
But that's based on the width of just the front facade, right?
Correct.
Okay. Got
And
it.
that's,
Okay.
that was my understanding, was just the width of the road facing sign.
Sure. Okay. But Wes, real quick, did you want to comment?
I just want to clarify that the zoning code in this case allows 2 square feet per linear foot of building width, and I had estimated the building width to be 32 feet facing Red Bank, so they'd be allowed approximately 64 square feet of wall signage on the facade facing Red Bank.
Okay. All right, great. Mr. Orshell, is there anything else you wanted to
No,
add
just
here?
thanks for your time. I appreciate the constructive dialogue here.
Sure, absolutely. Did the applicants offer of the condition for the photo cell or the timer? Does that is that something that mitigates your concerns at all?
I would say it mitigates them. It would be better than not having it, put it that way.
Okay, got it. All right, thanks again. Mr. Pauly, anything you want to
Yeah.
add here?
Yeah, I mean, I would just add in, and I already did, is that, yeah, if you look at the, you look at the photo that you have of the trees in Red Bank, that doesn't really show the elevation when you're looking down the hill, because we can see everything from the top of the hill. And Jeff's in my house back right up to it. And especially with the leaves gone, of course, God forbid I ever move from here. I love the place. It wouldn't be selling it when it's in the wintertime. The other thing is, you mentioned that there were allowances for the other fast food restaurants. Again, I'm out of my lane. That's not my profession. But even a backlit sign of 6 feet by 7 feet, um, I don't care who you are. It's going to show like a beacon at the top of the hill. I'm just being honest. Even the neon Freddy's around the roof is pretty prominent. So that's
Okay.
all I will add.
Okay, great. Thank you for your testimony. Appreciate your input.
Thank you for your time.
Wes, I'll give you an opportunity if you want to say anything more about the project.
Sure. So in our report, we did note the zoning relief granted for the Freddy's and Taco Bell and such up the street. Obviously, that's a consideration here as well. But as some of the neighbors have pointed out, that those signs might be a little smaller. And actually, I think the Freddy's does not have a sign facing south, which is where these 2 neighbors live. So that's something to point out. We also wrote in a proposed condition that the project or that site not be allowed to have a ground sign in addition to any wall signs that might be granted relief. The applicant's actually saying that wall signs are preferred. We would just want to be clear that prohibiting any future signage that would also be visible or be kind of extraneous extra signage along Red Bank, as well as potentially visible from the neighboring property. Just want to outline that as something to consider.
So do you mean that the applicant prefers a wall sign over a ground sign? Is that
I think so.
okay?
They originally applied for the ground sign for their permit, and I told them, they'd need variances for the wall sign, and we'd be, it's kind of a lot of signage, and they removed the ground sign from their request and their permitting. So that's part of why when I mentioned earlier about shifting signage around and such, that we felt, okay, they're not going to do a ground sign, then maybe the wall signage would be, if they want to do that, we'd, accommodate that calculation or that calculus on their part.
And so would a ground sign here, and I'm sorry, I know you mentioned this before, but to be clear, would a ground sign be permitted by right?
Yes.
Okay, and the allowance for the square footage of the ground sign, you said is 72 square feet
Maximum, yes.
maximum? Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
So, as far as to say that we prefer wall signs, I don't believe or recall that being a statement or that we've made. I would definitely have to refer to Nick on that, but I believe, if memory serves me, that we removed that sign just for permitting purposes while we were going through this process, the ground sign, I should clarify. So I don't know necessarily that Valvoline doesn't want that. So I would definitely have to refer to Nick and or the property owner here.
But let me ask you this, if I denied the application or the request for relief on the south facing sign, do you know whether Valvoline would then pursue the ground sign at 72 square feet?
I would tell you that I never had a conversation with them that this was an either or. I was unaware of that even being part of the conversation. I will tell you they're more than likely. I'd have to consult with my customer, but I'm guessing from previous interactions that they would probably rather keep that monument sign than one of those. Because if that can be 72, I mean, the what we're proposing is 37 square feet. I could just make that bigger if denied. I mean, as far as the monument sign goes, I mean, that would be something I have to take back to my customer. I have no idea how they would receive that. As far as the comments that the perceived sign on those other buildings might be less square footage, ours are box signs. Theirs are a lot of times are channel letters that are elongated. I bet you that the square footage isn't all that different. But that's just a guess because I haven't got out there. Just my thoughts.
Okay. All right. Wes, we'll go back to you.
Yeah. So when I mentioned that I interpreted Alex's comments from today, that he said that the wall signs were needed for the people going northbound. It sounded like he was preferring that as opposed to a ground sign, because like I would have thought a ground sign would be more visible than the wall signs. But anyways, that's why I said that. So, and then I guess my final thought is that as far as the timer or cutoff or sensor and such, I would just suggest that a clear time cutoff is probably something that makes more sense than a sensor, because I think that these ambient light sensors, the sign is still illuminated. It just theoretically reduces the amount of illumination. But I've seen these signs that are dimmer, but they're still quite visible at night or during the evening hours or whatever. So maybe a clear time cutoff would eliminate that potential for especially in the winter, winter, if like an 8 p.m. cutoff or whatever, like I know that they want the sign on during their business hours, but
we could set it up to cut off during, like, as soon as business hours are over. We could, with a timer, we could, as you know, we could set that up for whatever's required.
Yeah,
I think the concern with the timer, Wes, is that on Christmas Eve the sun sets at 5:15, and on July 4th the sun sets at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so if they cut it off at 9 p.m., then like for the overnight and evening hours, it would not be a detriment to the neighbors, kind of thing. Versus, I guess it would be on during the evening during the summer, but it's even though it's light out. But I don't know. I just felt that maybe a timer would be better than the ambient light, because the ambient light sensors still have the light on, unless you have it set up to turn off also at the end of a certain point or something. But
okay.
Anyways, my thoughts are concluded now. Thanks.
Thanks, Wes. Appreciate your testimony and your work on the staff report here. Okay, we'll go back to the applicants. Your opportunity to respond to anything you've heard, either from myself, Wes, or the neighboring property owners.
Yes. First, I apologize if my comments led anyone to believe that we were not, that there was any preference. That certainly is not my intention. I just kind of pulled up around here, the Valvoline. Looks like the latest closing time for one of them is 8 o'clock. I think you back to your comments about the sun turning, the sun and coming to different times of the year. I think that the timer when the business hours is, I do agree with Wes there, and I retract my statement that the photo cell would be better. I think that a timer would be more efficient, so that way when they're not in business or not open, that those signs go off. But certainly we would have to go back to the customer about accepting any conditions of not having a ground sign.
Anything else you wanted to add or say in closing or otherwise?
That is all. And just thank you everyone for their time, and we appreciate the feedback from the neighbors. As I said, we want to be a welcomed and friendly addition to the neighborhood. They definitely do not want to ruffle any feathers. So we appreciate the neighbors coming forward and expressing their concern.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Wes, one more question for you. That ground sign that you said they could install, would that be allowed to be illuminated?
Yes, external or internal illumination is allowed on ground signs in that location.
Okay. So.
But it would be farther away. It would be it would probably be right next to the street. I would guess they would put it as close to the street as they could.
Okay.
It's marked on the site plan where we would want to put it. If you take a look, it's circled.
Where did that go?
I mean, our zoning report kind of has a theme of one or the other, that's a lot of signage if you do both. So that's why we were framing it in that manner. So
the proposed ground sign would be here. I mean, so what do the applicants think about installing the ground sign here, even allowing this sign here, but nothing on the south, because that's going to be I think the main, visual impact for the neighboring property owners. I mean, is that something you considered or?
I haven't considered it. I think I'd probably prefer that monument sign versus the signs on the two sides of the building. I definitely like the idea of the timer.
Okay.
I haven't brought anything like this to my customers' attention, but what if I have no idea if they'll want this or not, but what if we did non-illuminated signage on SO1 and SO2 just as drawn but non-illuminated, and I just go with that monument sign for illumination? I have no idea if they'll want that, but it's just a thought that occurred to me.
Is the monument sign internal or external, Nick? Illumination.
Well, it's going to be internally illuminated LED.
And that's 72 square feet.
So currently,
I think that's
it's
the
like
allowance.
37 square feet. But if we're not doing the wall signs, they might want to make it bigger. I have no idea. I would have to have a conversation with my customer at that point. I'm speaking for them now, and I don't know what they think. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just spitballing.
Yeah. So here's where I'd like to go with this. And, if you think that this would be fruitless, let me know. But instead of you trying to guess or estimate what you think the customer would want, can we push this out a week, give you an opportunity to have that conversation, and then based on that conversation, potentially come back with a design and a layout, understanding the neighbors' concerns that may alleviate that, but also accomplish what you all are trying to do with identification and wayfinding?
I have no problem with that. I think what I might recommend, if the illuminated signage is that much of a concern for everybody, maybe just going with the monument sign and non-illuminated on the other buildings, if we could get approval for that, might be something they'd be interested in. I would have to have that conversation for sure.
Nick, I would prefer that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
so I can have the conversation and we can meet back, guys.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good to me, unless there's any objection from anyone else. I have I usually do these hearings on Wednesdays, so that's preferable for me. We could come back next week at any time after 11 a.m.
I have one. I just want to be clear because when I go to the customer, I'm going to present a couple things. I'm going to present, hey, we can go with this monument sign and non-illuminated signage and get a variance for non-illuminated signage. So you have branding, but it's not bothering the residents. The other less desirable outcome from the city and the residents is that we put it on some kind of timer. And I'll present those two options and see where they're at. And I'll recommend the monument sign because I think that might cover their visibility, but I'll see what they want. And then we can reconvene and see what that looks like. I don't mind presenting this. I think it's amicable and they might go for it. So.
And Nick, can you just reiterate those? I'll make sure I understand this correctly, or maybe I should reiterate them back to you and see if I got it right.
Whichever you prefer. Go ahead.
So for the south and north facing wall signs, you're saying you could present an option back. Option one would be not illuminated, but the signs would be there, and then there'd be a monument sign.
Correct.
And that may or may not be bigger than 37 square feet, but no bigger than 72 square feet.
That would depend on what they wanted. It would not exceed 72 square feet because we're not going to try to get a variance on that. It'll be the customer kind of typically likes the design like I have, but I can't speak for them. I'll need that call to verify. But yes, you're correct. Non-illuminated with illuminated monument sign.
And then option two would be no monument sign, but having those wall signs as you have them spec'd out, but on a timer.
So I'm not sure. So I was thinking option two, those on a timer with their monument sign, because they're going to want that monument sign. That's their most effective form of branding most of the time, from the road. And then option three would be those signs and no monument sign. I'm going to present all three and see what they'd be interested in.
You say those signs, what does that mean?
So option one, non-illuminated north and south pylon sign or monument sign. Option two, north and south illuminated signage on a timer to shut down when the business isn't in operation with a monument sign. Option three, they get those signs, but they don't get the monument sign, which I think the least likely that they're going to want of the three I'm going to present.
Okay. All right. So can we come back next week at 11? Okay.
Let me make sure my calendar's clear.
I will be in Canada. So Jeff, you'll have to cover if you can.
I'm on the road Wednesday. I'm sorry. I'm traveling.
Okay.
It could be Tuesday, it could be Thursday, it could be Friday, it could be the following Wednesday. I'll make accommodations otherwise.
Yeah.
Friday would work.
Tuesday. What's that?
I was just saying I'll be back Friday, but don't book it around me, guys. I mean,
yeah. Okay. Let's see. So we're talking Friday the 23rd.
That works for me.
Works for me.
Okay.
And
again, except for that Wednesday,
that
I'll work with everybody. I'll accommodate whatever times you need. So
what time on Friday are you speaking of, David?
Could we do 10 a.m. or 11 a.m.?
Yes. Yes, I can do that.
All right. Let's continue this to Friday, January 23rd at 10 a.m. And Nick and Alex, I'd ask you as soon as you've had that conversation with the client and you have an idea of how you'd like to proceed or what you'd like to ask for, if you could just get some drawings or some plans similar to the ones you submitted here, if you could get those to me and Wes so that we can share them with everyone else, and everyone can have an idea. Everyone can look at this prior to the actual hearing itself.
Absolutely. Do you want me to get that submitted to you through Cassandra, like an application, or just send it directly to you guys?
You can just send directly to the email.
Perfect.
I'll upload it into Cages, and I can share that directly with Mr. Orshell and Mr. Pauly.
Perfect.
Okay.
And David, will somebody send out a meeting invite, or do I need to?
Yep. No.
Okay.
We'll essentially just update the existing invite, which will generate a new email with a link that you can follow, just like you did today. And we should have
Okay.
that out later this afternoon or tomorrow at the latest.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick update. So essentially what's happening here is we're continuing this hearing in progress for the applicant to consider what they've heard from the neighbors and present potentially an alternative design. Again, you don't have to, just to be clear to the applicants, if you want to move forward as proposed today, that is your option. I'll weigh all the evidence and I'll make a decision. But if you think that there are some concessions you can make to mitigate some of the impacts that neighbors are concerned about, that's generally helpful, and we can proceed that way as well. And so that's what we will be discussing when we come back Friday the 23rd at 10 a.m. Any questions about any of that?
No, I think continuance is what we're gonna go with, and just again, Jeff and Paulie, we really appreciate your feedback. It's not often as sign companies we get to hear from the neighbors, so it's informative, and it helps Valvoline be a better partner in the community.
Thank you for the open conversation, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, let
Okay,
me ask
great.
you guys something. Could you take a picture, like just from your porch or wherever you would see, so I could see like the visibility triangles you have on those signs from there? Just like to see it. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, not for nothing. I'm going to try to get you your preferred option if my customer will go for it. So I'll try to get them to approve that first option. And if they do not, then we can work something with the timer, and we'll get it figured out, guys. We'll try. We will. I would like to see that. Maybe I could present it too. Hey, man, you're going to torture these guys. So I'll get to work on this stuff.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
That'd be great. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see
Thank
you next Friday. Everyone have a great day. And
So-
Thanks, everybody.